My boyfriend Jake walked in on me, giving his friend Marcus a therapeutic deep tissue massage with warm coconut oil in our bedroom, while we were both in minimal clothing, and started yelling about how I was crossing boundaries. But when I tried to explain that it was just professional bodywork, he called me inappropriate and said I was having an affair disguised as wellness. So I told him he was just insecure and controlling and couldn't handle me helping people with my natural healing abilities. Jake's face was bright red and he was shaking with frustration as he stood in our bedroom doorway staring at me and Marcus, who was lying face down on my massage table with oil on his back and shoulders. I was in the middle of working on a particularly tight knot in Marcus's lower back when Jake burst through the door without knocking, which was completely inappropriate since he knew I was conducting a therapeutic session. Marcus immediately tried to cover himself with the sheet, but Jake was already raising his voice about trust and boundaries, and how could I do this to him in our own home? I stayed calm and professional even though Jake was having a complete emotional breakdown, and tried to explain that what he was seeing was a legitimate healing session between a practitioner and client. Marcus had been dealing with chronic pain for months, and I was the only person who had been able to provide him with real relief through my advanced massage techniques that I'd been studying and perfecting. Jake wouldn't listen to reason, though, and kept getting upset about our state of dress and how inappropriate it was, and demanding that Marcus leave our house immediately. Marcus tried to defend me and explain that I was just helping him with his back problems, but Jake was so consumed with jealousy and insecurity that he couldn't see past his own negative mindset to understand what therapeutic bodywork actually involves. I told Jake that his reaction was exactly what I expected from someone who doesn't understand healing arts, and that his controlling behavior was the real problem in our relationship, not my professional massage practice that was helping people deal with chronic pain and stress. The whole confrontation was so traumatic and embarrassing for Marcus, who was just trying to get relief from his physical suffering through my therapeutic skills. Jake's emotional outburst created exactly the kind of negative energy that interferes with healing work and showed his complete disrespect for both my professional boundaries and Marcus's vulnerability as a client seeking help. I couldn't believe that my own boyfriend would sabotage my healing practice and humiliate someone who was trusting me to help them feel better. Now let me tell you how this whole situation started 3 months ago, and why Jake's reaction proves that he never understood or supported my calling as a healer. He was telling everyone how expensive physical therapy was, and how his insurance wouldn't cover more than 6 sessions, which wasn't enough to fix years of damage from lifting heavy materials and poor ergonomics on job sites. I mentioned that I'd been studying massage therapy online through this comprehensive certification program I found on Udemy, and offered to help him out because that's just who I am as a person. I care about people and want to help them feel better, especially when they're struggling financially. Marcus seemed really interested and asked about my training. I explained that I'd completed modules on anatomy, different massage styles, and essential oils. Jake seemed fine with it when I suggested Marcus could come over for sessions since we have that spare room and it would save Marcus money while giving me practice experience. Everyone at the poker table was supportive, and Jake even said it sounded like a win-win situation. Marcus came over that first Tuesday evening around 7 when Jake was working late on some server maintenance issue that was keeping him at the office until 9 or 10. I spent about 30 minutes setting up my portable massage table that I'd bought specifically for practice, along with clean sheets, towels, and my collection of therapeutic oils. I used some lavender oil, blended with jojoba carrier oil, and dimmed the lights to create a relaxing atmosphere, because that's what all the online tutorials emphasize for proper therapeutic massage environments. I started with some basic Swedish massage techniques to warm up his muscles, and then moved into deeper pressure to work on the knots and tension in his upper back and shoulders. Marcus was so grateful afterward and said it was the best his back had felt in months, which made me feel amazing because I was actually helping someone with my developing healing abilities. He mentioned that the massage was way better than the expensive sessions he'd tried at that fancy spa downtown, and asked if we could schedule regular appointments to work on his chronic issues systematically. We talked for a few minutes afterward about his construction work and how the repetitive motions and heavy lifting were creating muscle imbalances throughout his whole body. I explained some of the things I'd learned about how desk jobs and physical labor both create different patterns of tension and compensation that need to be addressed holistically rather than just treating isolated problem areas. Marcus was really impressed with my knowledge and said I seemed to understand his body mechanics better than some licensed therapists he'd seen in the past. When Jake got home that night around 10:30, I was excited to tell him about the session and how well it went. I explained how I'd been able to locate several trigger points in Marcus's rhomboids and trapezius muscles that were referring pain down into his lower back, and how releasing them had provided immediate relief. Instead of being proud of me for using my skills to help his friend, he got this weird look on his face and asked if Marcus had been undressed during the massage. I explained that of course he was undressed because you can't do proper deep tissue work through clothing, and that's just basic massage therapy knowledge, but Jake seemed uncomfortable with the whole thing, which honestly surprised me because I thought he trusted me more than that. I tried to reassure him by explaining that draping techniques are part of professional massage training and that only the area being worked on is exposed while the rest of the body stays covered with sheets. I also mentioned that Marcus had kept his underwear on during this first session since we were both still getting comfortable with the therapeutic relationship. Jake still seemed bothered and asked why I hadn't mentioned the undressing part before Marcus came over, but I thought it was obvious that massage involves skin contact and didn't realize I needed to spell out every detail of basic massage practices. The conversation got a little tense when Jake asked if I would be comfortable with him getting naked massages from female massage therapists, and I explained that therapeutic massage is completely different from sexual contact and that licensed professionals maintain strict boundaries and ethical standards. I reminded him that I was studying to become certified myself and would never do anything inappropriate with a client, but he still seemed skeptical about the whole arrangement, which made me wonder if he had trust issues from previous relationships that he hadn't told me about. Over the next few weeks, Marcus started coming by twice a week for sessions on Tuesdays and Fridays, and I could really see the improvement in his posture and mobility. He was sleeping better, had less morning stiffness, and could work longer hours without the debilitating pain that had been affecting his job performance and overall quality of life. I was getting better at the techniques too, and started incorporating some of the advanced methods I was learning about, like trigger point therapy, myofascial release, and cross-fiber friction to break up scar tissue from old injuries. Jake kept making these passive-aggressive comments about how much time I was spending with Marcus and asking why the sessions were taking longer each time. I tried to explain that healing is a process, and you can't rush therapeutic work, especially when someone has chronic issues that have developed over years of poor movement patterns and repetitive stress. The sessions were lasting about an hour and a half by then, because I was being thorough and really working on Marcus's problem areas systematically, rather than just providing temporary relief. Marcus had tension in his shoulders and lower back that required focused attention, but I was also learning how connected everything is in the body, so sometimes I had to work on his legs and glutes too. His hip flexors were incredibly tight from sitting in work trucks and crouching on job sites, which was pulling on his lumbar spine and creating compensation patterns all the way up to his neck and shoulders. Jake didn't seem to understand that massage is a holistic practice and kept questioning why I needed to work on so many different muscle groups, but that just showed how little he knew about anatomy and therapeutic bodywork principles. Marcus started bringing me these little gifts after our sessions, like essential oil blends, scented candles, and even a book about energy healing techniques, which I thought was so sweet and showed how much he appreciated my help. He said I had a real talent for healing touch and intuitive understanding of what his body needed, and that I should consider making it a full-time career instead of just working at the spa front desk. When I mentioned this to Jake, he got even more weird about it and said it seemed inappropriate for Marcus to be giving me gifts, but I couldn't understand why accepting tokens of gratitude was wrong when I was providing a valuable therapeutic service that was genuinely improving his quality of life. I started researching massage therapy schools and licensing requirements in our state and discovered that I could become certified through a combination of online coursework and hands-on practice hours. Marcus offered to serve as a regular practice client and even said he'd be willing to write testimonials about my skills once I was ready to start taking paying clients. His enthusiasm for my healing abilities was so encouraging, especially compared to Jake's negative attitude and constant questioning of everything I was trying to learn and accomplish. The gifts Marcus brought weren't expensive or inappropriate either, just thoughtful items related to massage and wellness that showed he was paying attention to my interests and professional development. He brought me a beautiful crystal that was supposed to promote healing energy, some books about chakras and energy work, and even offered to pay for an advanced workshop on lymphatic drainage techniques that I'd mentioned wanting to attend. Jake acted like these gestures were somehow romantic or inappropriate, but they were clearly professional gifts from someone who valued my therapeutic skills and wanted to support my career growth. Things got more tense when Jake came home early one Thursday and heard me and Marcus talking in the massage room about body mechanics and movement patterns. We were discussing how his construction work was affecting different muscle groups, and I was explaining some stretches and strengthening exercises he could do between sessions to maintain the progress we were making. Marcus was telling me about some other areas where he'd been feeling tight and asking questions about whether certain activities might be contributing to his tension patterns, but Jake acted like we were doing something wrong just because we were having a normal therapeutic consultation. Jake kept asking what we talked about during the sessions and seemed suspicious that we spent time discussing Marcus's work stress and personal life, but I tried to explain that communication is essential in therapeutic work. Clients need to give feedback about pressure, pain levels, and emotional responses to treatment, and therapists need to understand lifestyle factors that might be contributing to physical problems. The fact that Marcus felt comfortable opening up to me about his stress and health concerns was actually a sign that I was creating a safe therapeutic environment where real healing could take place. I also explained to Jake that many physical symptoms have emotional components, and that addressing stress and anxiety is part of holistic healing, but he seemed to think that talking about feelings during massage was somehow inappropriate. Marcus had mentioned that he was dealing with some work pressures and relationship stress with his wife, which was manifesting as tension in his jaw and neck muscles, so of course we needed to discuss those issues as part of his treatment plan. Jake's reaction showed that he didn't understand the mind-body connection and how therapeutic relationships work in professional healing environments. Marcus was telling me about some other areas where he'd been feeling tight, but Jake acted like we were doing something wrong just because we were having a normal conversation. He kept asking what we talked about during the sessions, and I tried to explain that communication is important in therapeutic work because the client needs to give feedback about pressure and problem areas. I started scheduling Marcus's appointments for when Jake was at work because the negative energy Jake was bringing to our home was actually interfering with the healing process and creating tension that Marcus could feel as soon as he walked in the door. Marcus mentioned that he could sense the conflict in the house, and it was making it harder for him to relax and let go of his stress during our sessions, which defeated the whole purpose of therapeutic bodywork. The mind-body connection means that environmental stress directly impacts the effectiveness of massage therapy, so I figured if Jake couldn't be supportive of my healing practice, then it was better to work around his schedule until he could process his jealousy issues and learn to trust my professional boundaries. This actually worked out much better for everyone because Marcus could arrive feeling calm and focused instead of worried about Jake's disapproval, and I could concentrate fully on the therapeutic work without feeling like I was being judged or monitored. The sessions became more effective, and Marcus started making even faster progress with his chronic pain issues, which validated my decision to prioritize the healing environment over Jake's insecurities. I also started playing soft meditation music and using more candles to create an even more peaceful atmosphere that would help Marcus release the stress he carried from his demanding job and difficult marriage situation. Jake didn't seem to notice that I was scheduling around his work hours at first, which showed how little attention he was actually paying to my massage practice, despite all his complaints and suspicions. When he did figure it out a few weeks later, he accused me of being sneaky and hiding things from him, but I explained that I was just trying to create optimal conditions for therapeutic work and that his negative attitude was counterproductive to the healing process. I reminded him that professional massage therapists work with clients of all genders without their partners monitoring every session, and that his behavior was actually the unusual and inappropriate part of this whole situation. The breakthrough came when Marcus told me about this advanced technique called tantric massage that incorporates breathing exercises, energy work, and mindfulness practices, along with the physical touch to address both body and spirit. He'd been researching holistic healing methods online and thought it might help with his stress levels and insomnia, which had been affecting his work performance and making his back pain worse. I was excited to learn something new and expand my therapeutic skills, so I looked it up and found some detailed tutorials that explained how to integrate conscious breathing, meditation, and energy awareness into traditional massage practices. The tantric approach was fascinating because it recognized that physical tension often has emotional and spiritual components that can't be addressed through muscle manipulation alone. The techniques involved slower, more mindful movements, combined with breathing exercises that helped clients connect with their bodies in a deeper way and release trauma that might be stored in muscle tissue. I spent hours studying the methods and practicing the breathing techniques myself, so I could guide Marcus through the process effectively and safely. We tried the new approach the following week, and it was incredible how much more relaxed Marcus became when we incorporated the breathing exercises and energy awareness into his session. He said it felt like we were working on levels he'd never experienced before, and that the combination of physical touch and spiritual connection was exactly what his body and mind needed to heal from years of accumulated stress and tension. The session lasted almost 2 hours because we took time to really focus on the mind-body-spirit connection, and I could see what a profound difference it made in his overall well-being and energy levels. Jake completely lost it when he found out about the longer sessions and started accusing me of doing something inappropriate with Marcus. I tried to explain that tantric massage is a legitimate healing modality that's about energy and consciousness, not anything sexual, but Jake wouldn't listen to reason. He said 2-hour massage sessions were excessive and demanded that I stop seeing Marcus altogether, which was completely unreasonable since I was helping someone and developing my skills at the same time. That's when I realized Jake had some serious control issues and was threatened by my growing independence and expertise in healing arts. He was trying to sabotage my relationship with Marcus because he couldn't handle me having male friends or pursuing my passion for therapeutic work. I told him he was being insecure and controlling, and that his jealousy was toxic to our relationship, but instead of acknowledging his problems, he just got more angry and defensive. I decided to continue my sessions with Marcus because I wasn't going to let Jake's issues prevent me from helping people and growing as a healer. Marcus was making real progress, and it would have been unethical to abandon him in the middle of his treatment just because my boyfriend couldn't handle his own insecurities. I started being more discreet about the appointments and used the bedroom instead of the spare room because it had better lighting and more space for the massage table. The bedroom sessions were even better because the environment was more peaceful and intimate in a therapeutic way. I used candles and soft music to create the right atmosphere, and Marcus said he felt safer and more comfortable opening up about his stress and emotional blocks during the bodywork. We were really getting to the root of his tension patterns, and I could see how much the healing was helping him in all areas of his life. Everything came to a head last week when Jake came home early from work and walked in on me giving Marcus a session. We were just working on some deep gluteal tension, and I had been using warmed coconut oil, which is excellent for muscle relaxation, but Jake completely misinterpreted what he was seeing. Instead of asking questions or trying to understand the therapeutic context, he immediately started screaming about betrayal and infidelity, which showed exactly how ignorant he was about healing arts. Marcus tried to explain that it was just massage therapy, but Jake wouldn't listen and ordered him to leave our house immediately. I was mortified by Jake's behavior and tried to calm the situation down, but he was completely irrational and kept yelling about boundaries and trust. He said seeing Marcus naked on our bed was the last straw, but I couldn't understand why he was sexualizing a perfectly innocent healing session that was helping someone deal with chronic pain. After Marcus left, Jake demanded that I choose between my healing practice and our relationship, which was emotional blackmail, pure and simple. He said he couldn't trust me anymore and that what I was doing wasn't normal massage therapy, but some kind of affair disguised as wellness work. I tried to explain that his dirty mind was the problem, not my therapeutic methods, but he wouldn't hear any of it and started packing his things that same night. The worst part was when Jake called Marcus's wife and told her about our sessions, which was a complete violation of client confidentiality and privacy. Marcus had specifically asked me not to mention our work to anyone because he was dealing with some marital stress and didn't want his wife to worry about his health issues. Jake's interference destroyed the trust that Marcus and I had built and caused problems in Marcus's marriage that had nothing to do with our therapeutic relationship. Jake also called my sister and some of our mutual friends to tell his twisted version of what happened and turned everyone against me before I could explain the real situation. He made it sound like I was having an affair when I was just practicing healing arts and helping someone in need. None of them understood that massage therapy requires professional boundaries, not the kind of suspicious monitoring that Jake was demanding. When I tried to reach out to our friends to give them the truth about my massage practice, they had already made up their minds based on Jake's lies and manipulation. Even my best friend Sarah said she thought it was inappropriate for me to be giving naked massages to married men in our bedroom, but she was just showing her own ignorance about therapeutic bodywork and letting Jake's toxic masculinity influence her judgment. The whole situation has been devastating because I lost my boyfriend, my social circle, and my client, all because people can't understand the difference between healing touch and sexual contact. Marcus won't return my calls now because of the drama Jake created, and I can't continue helping him work through his physical and emotional blocks. It's heartbreaking to see how one person's jealousy and control issues can destroy something beautiful and therapeutic. I've been staying at my mom's house this week while I figure out what to do next, but even she doesn't seem to understand why I'm the victim in this situation. She keeps asking why I didn't tell Jake about the bedroom sessions and whether I can understand why he was upset, but I shouldn't have to hide my healing work just because my boyfriend has a dirty mind and trust issues. The most frustrating part is that everyone is acting like I did something wrong when I was just following my passion for helping people and developing my skills as a healer. Jake's reaction showed his true colors and proved that he was never really supportive of my personal growth and professional development. A loving partner would have been proud of my abilities and encouraged me to pursue my calling, not try to sabotage it out of petty jealousy. I still don't understand why everyone thinks giving therapeutic massages makes me a bad person when I was just trying to help someone feel better and develop my natural healing abilities. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.